You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's RBLR Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to RBLR Lightning. As always, my name is Jake Ricker. Alongside me, it's Jose Nicaro, it's Matt Gannon. Guys, welcome back. We're in for another action-packed episode. Lightning hockey officially back in full swing. And boy, what a week that we get to talk about. It was certainly a fun one. It's going to be great. We're going to be talking about those game recaps. Vasy hitting 300 wins and breaking an NHL record. We're talking about some rescheduling games that are going on and a look ahead coming up. Our 3 stars of the week, those are back as well. Should be a great episode. We thank everybody for tuning in who is with us live. Don't forget to follow us on social media at RBLR Sports, at RBLR Lightning, and you can hit that notification bell on YouTube so you don't miss out when we do go live. But first and foremost, guys, how you doing today?
Doing wonderful. I actually got to catch up on the Lightning today because it's my wife's birthday on Thursday and then a buddy's wedding on Saturday. So I had to basically wait almost 2 weeks between games. But, I'm only mentioning this so that if they see it, I get those extra bonus points for, not having watched the game live and letting them have their special days. But what a day to catch up on with a couple of wins after kind of a little bit of a rough patch there. What do you think, Matt?
Those 2 occasions are definitely not as important as 2 regular season games for the Lightning. I'm just kidding. No, it's been a really fun week of Lightning hockey. RBLR After Dark. I think we're all a little tired, but excited to talk about these past 2 games that were very, very entertaining to watch.
Well, Joe, you're a better man than me because I'd be watching the Lightning game no matter what, no matter where I am. But it's going to be some fun time to talk about these games because the Lightning played so well. And don't forget to all of our live viewers too. If you guys have comments on what we're talking about here, drop them in the chat. We'll throw them up on here. We'd love to hear what you guys have to say. So be sure to throw those comments down there, just like Joe did right there. We'll get them up on screen. So I do quickly want to hit on the rescheduled game that was announced. So for those that don't remember, the Lightning were supposed to open their season on a back-to-back with Carolina, that first game at home, where they played the first game on the road, and they're supposed to come home to play Carolina. That game got rescheduled because of the hurricane. The Lightning did not play that game. It has now been rescheduled to January 7th, I believe it is. That is in the middle of a week where they were supposed to have 3 days off. Now they're going to have a day off, the game, another day off, and then back to your regular scheduled program as it was. So actually a good spot to put that game on January 7th. Kudos to the NHL for putting it in a spot that actually makes kind of sense and not throwing us into a back-to-back or something like that. And technically it ends up benefiting the Lightning because they had a back-to-back to start the season. Now they no longer have one.
I mean, maybe, but it looks like now for the entire month of January, they have a game every other day. And maybe that's a great way to get into the swing of things. Maybe that's a great way to start to get into playoff mode. But that's a lot of hockey that they're going to be playing in the month of January there.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's no back-to-back, I guess. January is always, I guess it's not always a pretty jam-packed month, but is the Four Nations, is that February?
Correct. That is in February, if I'm not mistaken. I will double check to make sure, but yes.
So, and I think we're also getting an all-star break this year as well.
So in February, they have a game on the 9th. And then not again until the 23rd. It's basically 2 full weeks off.
So you're going to have to jam pack some games in somewhere, especially closer to the Four Nations face-off as well. So it makes sense. It does suck, but at least we get out of a back-to-back situation. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you know what? Listen, I've expected the worst when it comes to NHL scheduling because they're usually not very good at all. So I take this as, at the very least, a win for us, is that we're out of a back-to-back. Yes, maybe crams January a little bit more, but who doesn't love more hockey with less days off? I know I'm all for that. The players will probably disagree with me, but hey, it is what it is. We do have some games to get to talk about this week. So there's only 2 games to recap, but they were 2 huge games. And that's starting off with the game against the Winnipeg Jets. And we talked about this one on last week's show and how this was a big game for the Lightning. They had not been playing well. Things were not going their way. You're coming out of a long break, which typically the Lightning do not do well from, and you're playing the best team in the NHL, the Winnipeg Jets, who at the time of the game only had 1 loss. They had not lost on the road yet either. That 1 loss did come at home, and the Lightning hand them their 2nd loss of the season and their 1st on the road. They win that game 4-1. Your final score, Jake Guentzel gets the scoring started in the first period. The Lightning continued to really build on that momentum in the second. They had a 3-0 lead in this game. Jets do get one back late in the second, but empty netter for Jake Guentzel late in the third period. The Lightning win this one 4-1. And guys, a really just well-played overall solid 60 minutes of hockey. This did not look like the Lightning that we saw going into that long break.
Let me jump in just real quick, and it's going to be more of a rant that has nothing to do with the Lightning. But so this was on ESPN Plus, right? And trying to rewatch the game, it said that I was blacked out, so I didn't actually get to see anything but the highlights. I'm really disappointed because like the chat was going off with saying it was, you guys saying it was like the best played game that they've had all season, most complete game. I didn't even get to watch the whole thing. All I got to see was highlights. So you guys are gonna have to fill me in.
Well, that's a bummer. This was hands down the best game that they've played all season. One of the most entertaining games all season. I don't want to rub it in your face here, but I can't understate just how good everybody played. And that's the thing. It wasn't just, one group. It wasn't just Vasy. It was all 3 groups, the forwards, Morgan alert.
There it is.
The forwards, it was the defensemen, and Vasilevskiy. Everybody was playing as a cohesive unit, a great looking team. First time I've seen this team play this well at all this season, and just against a powerhouse team. I get they don't have Connor Hellebuck in net, but they had Eric Comrie, who's a solid backup, and he was undefeated up until this point as well. The physicality was there, which is something that I've been kind of harping on so far this season, the lack thereof. Lilleberg, he's a guy that we've been kind of hard on this season because he hasn't been the Lilleberg we saw.
He's sophomore slumped.
And he laid out Mark Scheifele. He laid him out early in the game, and then Scheifele just could not get out of anybody's way. But Lilleberg just lined him up and sat him down. It was a great hit from Lilleberg, and the rest of the guys on the defense also played really well. Darren Radish is another guy back in the lineup, and he made a couple of really strong plays in front of the net. Everybody, I cannot understate it enough how good of a game this was from top to bottom, from start to finish.
Yeah, fantastic game. And again, it wasn't expected because the Lightning typically don't play like this out of the break, and the Jets are a very good team. I got a comment here, by the way, from Daniel, but how about the Vasy trying to shoot from the empty net? He did. There was an attempt, which you don't see very often.
I've never seen him shoot for the empty net.
Super, super close, but it's very rare that you even see that. And it was fun to see him go for that. You always love a good old goalie goal. They have been a lot more recently than they have in past years. But just listen to some of these stats, by the way, from this game, and you kind of just tell how good of a game this was for the Lightning. Shots on goal, 29. Face-offs, they won that 56.9% to Winnipeg's 43. Power play went 1 for 3. That's not bad at all. They had 16 hits. Winnipeg did have 25. 19 block shots. That's always a good telling stat of how your defense is playing sometimes. Only 12 giveaways to Winnipeg's 23, by the way, and 6 takeaways in that game. So it's just fantastic stats all around the board. It was seriously such an impressive game. The Lightning looked like the best team in the NHL as they took down the best team in the NHL. They got off to a quick start. Guentzel's goal, by the way, that opened the scoring. Guentzel did a great job of getting open and just kind of sliding in that slot. I've noticed that's kind of the player he is, right? He gets into the areas, those good areas, and other players can do a good job of finding him. And obviously being on a line with Nikita Kucherov always helps a ton. He's a guy that can find you even when you're in a bad spot. But just great plays all around, great defense, good goaltending. It was a fantastic game. And not to mention, this win was Vasilevskiy's 300th win, which officially made him the fastest goaltender to get to 300 NHL wins. He did it in 490 games played, by far the fastest. And just a round of applause for Andrei Vasilevskiy. We've all known how much of an amazing goaltender he truly is, as we've gotten to witness what he can do here in Tampa. But to hit that mark, that the whole entire NHL get to see it. We had the celebration to the next game, which we'll get into a little bit. But just big congratulations to the Big Cat, and continue to do such amazing things. 300 wins. I mean, that is crazy. At 490 games played, who knows where he's going to be in 490 more games.
It's funny listening, or if you were to look back at the last episode that we had and the things that we were talking about specifically, and how many of them in this past game were actually addressed. The fact that it's hard to break that milestone, get to that 300 win mark. That was it took several games for Vasilevskiy. We had the 4-game skid, but he played an additional game, I believe, in there. So either way, it took him almost 5 games to get to it. The fact that they are going against a very difficult team after coming out of the break, and they've struggled on that. The fact that the third defensive pairing has had such issues in the past, actually almost since the season has started, and all that just kind of seemed to come together for the Lightning. If you look at Lilleberg, he had it was a primary assist, right? Because it was a deflected puck that he shot towards the net and went in, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
He was +1 on the night, which, obviously is great to see. Radish coming back into the lineup, got an assist and was a +1 on the night. Again, all I could see was really the highlights, but there was a lot of things in this, looking at the stats, looking at the limited amount of play that I could, that this was a pretty well-defining game for the team, and 19 block shots. I've been saying since last season about that number of how many block shots you need to have when you play this system of defense. 19's on the high side. They did a really good job of protecting Vasilevskiy, and obviously Vasy took care of all the rest. The one that went in was a weird deflection, right? It was like just a ton of traffic that was in front of him. Let that one slide. He played an outstanding game with 23 saves.
Yeah, and 23 saves isn't, a whole heck of a lot, and Winnipeg wasn't on their A game, but he still played really well. And I also want to give, credit to the defense as well. Radish making a really strong play in front of the net early on in that game, which is another thing that I've been complaining about, is being soft in front of the net, and he just eliminated his man. That was the primary scoring threat in this situation. So credit where it's due for Darren Radish. I know it's rare to hear me say that. Another thing that a friend pointed out, we were watching this game together. He said Kucherov was, visible, but he wasn't Nikita Kucherov. He wasn't the guy that was just the dominant figure out there. Like, he was just kind of
didn't happen to be
another
Ethan,
guy.
did it?
Yes.
Well, Matt, you bring that up, and I want to quickly mention this comment.
That guy.
He's getting the same point that you were getting at. It was kind of more impressive in his opinion, because it seemed Cooch did not play to his incredible standards, but the team looked at his best. And to Winnipeg's credit, they did do a good job of limiting Kucherov as much as they could.
And not having point and being able to find some additional push. Jake Paul getting an assist, or Jake Paul. Geez, I still have the fight on was that Friday on the mind. Still having Nick Paul getting an assist, being a +1. He's kind of had to elevate his role with the team. It's been really tough not having point, but they're turning a corner where they need to find that extra little bit of oomph, and they've gotten it.
And the chemistry with Braden Point being out, Nick Paul and Jake Guentzel being on a line together too, having to shuffle these lines around, those two have something special together. Like, I know it's always really easy to play with Nick Paul. He's an amazing player, but man, those two together, the first goal in that Winnipeg game, a nice between the legs pass, drop pass to Jake Guentzel. He just fires it over the shoulder of Eric Comrie. It's just those unspoken little things that those two players are very quickly learning to do together. Those two really have something blooming. I don't know if we'll see them once Braden Point comes back. Maybe we'll load up the top big dog line again. But if those two ever do play again together, that's something to be feared. They're building something nice there.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys saw this, but Nick Paul, who was rocking the mustache for what is it? No, Movember. It's a very interesting new look. He still looked better than Jake Paul. I can't believe Joe made him. Put those two names together. How dare you insult Nick Paul like that? But hey, the Lightning got off to a really good start for this week, beating the Winnipeg Jets, the best team in the NHL, and things didn't get any easier for them as they got set to take on the New Jersey Devils, who are also one of the top teams in the NHL. They've had a couple of weird games against the Lightning. Their last game being against Jonas Johansson, and there was how many? It was
8.
was it 6-7 or something like
It was
that.
8-5.
8-5. There you go. So it was tons of goals scored. You don't really know what you're going to get. You got an even better game from the Lightning, if you can even say that, with how well they played against Winnipeg. But it's a 4-0 shutout. So on the heels of Vasilevskiy's 300th win, he picks up his 301st and picks up yet another shutout. Lightning dominated this game from start to finish. You got Nick Paul, not Jake Paul, scoring a goal. Darren Radish getting on the board. Victor Hedman with a beautiful power play goal as well on a nice shot. And Anthony Cirelli getting the empty netter to finish this one off for the Lightning. So another big win for them. And a great ceremony done once again, no surprise, by the Lightning for Vasilevskiy's 300th win, getting him the silver stick, the flowers, and the one to his kid as well. And then all the tribute videos from Vasilevskiy's brother, his dad, Ben Bishop, Steven Stamkos, which, by the way, is so weird to see Steven Stamkos on a video tribute and not there on the ice presenting this kind of stuff. But you also got to see Steven Stamkos' kid, Carter, at the end too, giving a shout out to Vasilevskiy, which was super cool as well.
No, this was another great game played. I don't think it was as good as this Winnipeg game, but it's hard to, reach that benchmark twice in 2 nights. But it was as good of a game that you could really ask for. Not as perfect, but Vasilevskiy was perfect in net. The Devils, they've been playing really good hockey recently too. They just came off of 2 spankings against the Florida Panthers. Like they beat the Panthers pretty good in back-to-back nights, I want to say. And then you come into Amalie Arena and get shut out. What a night. It was a great night for Vasilevskiy, for everybody involved. It was another just tremendous ceremony. I don't know if other teams do it like the Lightning do, but man, the Lightning do it right with their ceremonies. I was a little surprised how not over the top it was, but how big of a ceremony it was for being the fastest goalie to 300 wins. I get it, but there's still other bigger milestones we can achieve. Like, I wonder what they're going to do for the fastest goalie to 400 wins. How do you top that? Because you already got the gold stick.
5.
A platinum stick.
So get to 5 and you just get all the stakes, man.
There
Did
you
you see,
go.
actually, real quick, when Vinnick handed him, you could they didn't have the audio, but you could see him mouth. It's really heavy, and when Vasy picked it up, he's like, "Oh shit, it's really it's really heavy," as he grabbed it.
That's funny. But again, just another, I already used the best game of the year for Winnipeg, but probably the second best game that the Lightning have played this year so far, from top to bottom. It was just, again, every unit. There wasn't anybody that I can really be calling out saying he's got to do better, he's got to bury that, or whatever it is. It was all 3 units playing in unison and playing very, very well together. Not as tightly knit, not as good as that Winnipeg game, but again, like I said a second ago, it's hard to reach that benchmark again.
The game seemed pretty well balanced until a little bit later in it, I thought, with against New Jersey, and that's a very skilled team. They can be really explosive, but it does feel like the Lightning have their number this season, and it's a little bit surprising in my eyes, because I would think that the Lightning wouldn't do as well against an explosive team. But with the elements that they've added this season, this is not the same club that we had last year by any means. So they thrive on those occasions. Just getting back to stats real quick, they had again 19 block shots. That's incredibly frustrating when you can't get pucks to the net, especially when you desperately need a tie-up goal. With the Lightning scoring early. Let's see, it was about 5 minutes into the first period. Am I getting it right with Nick Paul's goal? But it means that the Devils played on their heels and couldn't get pucks to the front of the net, which inevitably just frustrated them out of being able to play.
And one thing I also want to note too, we took the lead early in both of these games as well, which has kind of been a theme so far throughout a lot of these games this year, is taking the lead early, even maybe a multi-goal lead, and then just trying to play shutdown hockey starting in the second period, which I was saying last week does not work for this team. You need to take the lead and keep the pressure on, stay on the gas, and that's exactly what they did in both of these games as well. And it worked out. It worked in their favor. I get, maybe they didn't put, 5 or 6 goals in the net, but they stayed, they kept the pressure up, which is exactly what we've been begging for. And see what happens when you do that. You get a 4-1 win against the best team in the league, and you get a 3-0 shutout against one of the best teams in the league. So maybe they're listening.
Jake, can you pull up the comment from Ethan there?
Yes, I was waiting to get to it pretty soon. How serious is the point injury, or is it still unknown?
That's not the one. It was the most recent one, because we can come back to that in a second. But just relevant to this game, I love the energy that Trent has brought this week and his physicality. But, man, he took some beatings by getting hit by pucks, and I completely agree with you because he looked like a monster out there erasing guys from plays, which I love from a defenseman. But I'm also a little bit worried that getting so many pucks to him. He's been fragile in the past, and I just hope he doesn't get that one where he starts on that streak of, I'm just not going to play this week. But he did really elevate his game physically.
Well, he did leave the New Jersey game briefly for a bit. I want to say he came back. It wasn't too long, but he was shaken up on a shot block. So I hope that's not the first domino to fall with, seeing how Eric Chernak does not milk these things, but if your source is correct,
this negativity up. We're talking about all the positive things the Lightning did. You guys are out here slandering Eric Chernak. It's just ridiculous. And you're right. He did get banged up for a second there, though, and he does tend to do that. But hey, he's been playing a good game, so that's a positive sign right now.
Yeah, he's a warrior.
Then, if you want to speak of positivity, go back to that other comment.
The point one.
Yeah. Because I have it on good word.
Jumping in, there's so many comments. I got to scroll through a couple of them to get to it. We love to hear from you guys. So there it is.
So Ethan, how serious is the point injury, or is it still unknown? And then to back it up, was it actually posted that I think Dan had a comment on there? Eureka also chimed in that Pointer was at skate today doing line rushes, so it seems like there's a high possibility that he's going to be playing tomorrow.
I'd be betting.
Has been kind of weird because he's been back skating for a little bit now, and we thought he was going to come back sooner, or at least I thought there was a good chance of that. And because Gage Gonçalves, I think I butchered that last name again. I still haven't gotten used to saying that, but he went down. Was it last week? I think it was. So you expected Point to be back pretty soon.
He went down to get the games because of the break.
Being on the ice, but he still hasn't been back. But they are saying he should be back in this next game for the Lightning. So hopefully soon, but I'm not fully buying into it because I think the Lightning have been more precautious with this.
Yeah, and Gage went down just to get the reps because we had the week off. So they allowed him to play by sending him down. So it wasn't really have anything to do with Point as much as it was.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he's still down with Syracuse. I haven't seen anything anyway that he's come back up. So which is a little odd to me that you would send him down. Like you'd send down for the reps, but then I think you'd bring him back up. I could be mistaken there. I haven't seen anything though.
If we don't hear anything by tomorrow morning, then I would assume Braden Point would be coming back. If Gonçalves, I would hope so. And he also had a really good game against New Jersey as well. I think Beverly put it in the chat here. She pointed it out, but he had a really strong game against New Jersey. Couldn't get a point or a goal or anything like that, but he had some really strong drives to the net, created a couple of plays as well. With the limited amount of ice time he got, he was a standout player in that game for me too.
Yeah, listen, bottom line, the Lightning looked really good, and it's hard to look as good as the Lightning have over these past just 2 games, but you can get pretty darn close if you head over to shop.rblrsports.com and check out the awesome team-inspired merch that we have for you guys. Lightning, Rays, Bucks, Rowdies, you name it, we got it. Shop.rblrsports.com, and you guys can use code BOLTS to get 10% off your order. Links, as always, are in the description below, so be sure to go check that out. Listen, there's only 2 games. but there was a lot of positive players and a lot of things that went well for the Lightning. So I don't know about you guys, but it was actually pretty difficult to pick a 3 stars this week because there were so many guys that did extremely well and were deserving of stars in this game. Just to mention a couple of honorable mentions here right off the top, Anthony Cirelli, who had 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points, and was a +4. He was fantastic. Nikita Kucherov, who's always on these lists, but he had 3 assists, was a +2.
Let me jump in and say Lilleberg too, because he was a plus player. He got points, and it's something that we've really hammered for his performance, and Radish as well.
Really, the best way to put this is there was only Luke Glendening and Mikey Esimont were minuses, and they were only -1, so nothing too crazy. Of course, 2 games, but to only have 2 guys as a -1 is really, really good. Most guys on the team were like a +2, +3, some even a +4. So a lot of good. All that to say, to go through our now 3 stars that we have here for you guys, because it was tough to pick. It wasn't easy, but our number 3 star is going to be none other than Victor Hedman, the captain, getting it done for the Lightning. He had the big power play goal for the Lightning, which is very hard to come by this season, but the power play looked good over the last 2 games. He had 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points, and was a +1. Solid week for Victor Hedman here, guys.
Just like Darren Radish and Emil Lilleberg, Victor Hedman is starting to find his defensive game as well too. He's not really been caught up the ice or staring at a puck or anything like it seemed like he was doing early on this season and a lot last season. His defense is really starting to come back to him, but his offense has never really left, and it was a huge factor this week. Like you said, a very rare power play goal, a power play goal at home, to be specific, from Victor Hedman. He was all over the ice this week. I'm glad we get to choose him as one of the 3 stars because he definitely deserved it. We didn't say his name earlier in the game recaps, but he was just everywhere doing the right things and put up the points to deserve a 3rd star.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the one negative that he had, the -1 in the game against Winnipeg. It was again a fluke goal, so throw that stat out. It was something that was floated to the front with like 5 people in front of Vasy. Again, the new NHL website where you can kind of see the flow of play by watching where the players' positions are when the puck comes in can definitely help people see why I'll call out certain goals as not being specifically like Vasy's fault or anyone specific's fault. So it's kind of, that one's telling. But he also got a power play assist against Winnipeg, and then also, again, that power play goal, which, we've talked and been critical about the power play for the Lightning, and obviously not having Stamkos on the left wing for one-timers has really forced more shots from point from Victor Hedman. So the fact that he's able to get power play points here and be a real big contributing factor is going to play long-term into the success of this franchise. And going 1 for 3 in the past 2 games, I guess 2 for 6 really, it's a big deal. That's what we need to see, and he's a driving force.
Well, speaking of Steven Stamkos and how taking off the power play has hurt the Lightning, the next guy on our number 2 star list, he's been on here a couple of times, and he's the guy that is there to kind of quote unquote replace Steven Stamkos, and that's Jake Guentzel. Once again, another fantastic week for Guentzel. Seems like he's really coming into his own now with the Lightning, and he's having a little bit of time. Guentzel, 2 goals, 2 assists for 4 points, and was a +3. Love to see his offensive output. Remember, the Lightning brought him in to be better in the 5-on-5 category. There is no question that he has done that. No question at all. He's been fantastic. He gets into the open ice, and he is able to put the puck in the back of the net. You put it on his stick, he's going to put it in the back of the net. Power play has been a little bit different without Steven Stamkos, but Jake Guentzel, no question, has been fantastic on that 5-on-5 area, and he gets the number 2 star of the week for us.
He's been excellent 5-on-5. He's been an excellent player to put in this system. He's made a seamless transition from Pittsburgh to Carolina and now hopefully permanently to Tampa. He's been awesome. And not only 5-on-5, but 5-on-4. No, not the power play. He was playing penalty kill minutes in that New Jersey game. I think he only maybe got 1 shift out there or something, but he was locking it down. He was playing really, really good. I think he might have been out there with Nick Paul maybe. I can't quite remember, but he got some reps on the penalty kill later in the game. and he looked really good out there too. So you've got a very, very versatile player. Maybe not a Brandon Hagel versatile level player where you can play him on the power play and the penalty kill. This might be more of a rare occurrence, but while he was out there on the PK, he looked really good. And again, just the chemistry that he immediately builds with some of these players, like earlier in the season as Nikita Kucherov, now it's Nick Paul. He just fits in so well. He's a perfect, I hate to use the word replacement, but he's a perfect replacement for Steven Stamkos. There's still a couple kinks we got to iron out on the power play, but man, he just keeps impressing me every season. I'm so glad he is on my fantasy team.
There it is. Good old fantasy team for Matt.
The differential is 23, and I'm just going to leave it at that because the plus minus for Jake Guentzel is plus 10 on the season. He broke up a couple of plays that I swear should have been goals, and he back-checked and was able to really harass the guy that got past the puck and prevent a scoring opportunity. And he's done it several times that we've seen. I mean, he's done it a ton of times that we've seen this whole season, but he's done it several times in just the New Jersey game that I was able to watch. And that makes a huge difference. The fact that he was able to take a one-timer to score, maybe that's just a little bit of a bonus, but I love the chemistry that he has. I said actually earlier in the season that if it's a 2-on-1 with him and Kucherov, it's guaranteed to be a goal. And in that New Jersey game, they did miss a 2-on-1, and because Guentzel put the puck too far behind Kucherov, and I listened to the radio broadcast, and I can't remember who was giving him grief about the play, but I mean, Kuch was wide open. He should have been able to bury it if it was put in the right spot. I think they correct that, and it's not going to be a problem moving forward because he's a really good passer. It just happened to be, maybe 6 inches, a foot too far back. Stamkos isn't going to make that pass, unfortunately, more than Guentzel, and this isn't to just. It's not really to talk derogatorily about 91. It's just I'm really excited about what we have in player number 59 because he's back-checking, he's scoring, he's making plays, and he's everywhere you want him to be to have 4 points in the last 2 games.
I want to bring up a couple of comments here quickly, too. Matt, before you were just talking about the penalty kill and Guentzel being on there, Ethan brought up that the penalty kill has been crazy, and then you quickly followed that up with Matt, please stop repeating me. So, Matt, if you could stop repeating Ethan for us, that would be great. But we love that you guys are thinking on the same wavelength. Joe, to your point about it's not supposed to be disparaging 91. I want to make that clear, too, because it's not. These are 2 very different players. Daniel dropped the comment in here about me saying, Jake, it almost sounds like you're coming around to Guentzel being a better fit than Stamkos at this point. No, you're misunderstanding me. Because remember, when this happened, it was never anything against Jake Guentzel. I love Jake Guentzel. My point was always that I'm bummed that we're losing Stamkos. I think we could have kept Stamkos. Could you made them both work? No, that's very difficult. That's all in the past, though. This has never been anything against Jake Guentzel. I think he's a great player, and he's proving that right here with the 5-on-5 play. So this has nothing to do with Steven Stamkos at all. Jake Guentzel, and you can go back and watch the clips of me saying that I've always thought Jake Guentzel is a very good player, and I'm very happy that he's continued to prove that he is a very good player, and he's shown up big time for the Lightning, and that's why he gets the 2nd star of the week. So very well deserved there for Jake Guentzel. For our number 1 star, though, it was a no-brainer. And normally when it comes to no-brainers, you think, oh, it's Nikita Kucherov because he's the guy that's always the no-brainer. But with a shutout win, 300 wins on his career, the fastest to ever do it, our number 1 star of the week, it's Andrei Vasilevskiy. I mean, just, again, round of applause. I wish I could do a standing ovation, but my head would go out of frame here. Fantastic job by Andrei Vasilevskiy. He had the injury last year, didn't start the season on time. A lot of people out there said he wasn't looking like himself. He's not the prime Andrei Vasilevskiy, and there were some games maybe where you could say he struggled. These last 2 games, it's prime Andrei Vasilevskiy. And I'll tell you right now, if this prime Andrei Vasilevskiy is back in here to stay, look out the rest of the NHL because they don't want that.
Yeah, the one, like I said, I mentioned again, the 1 goal against that he had, fluke shot, that's going to go in. There's if he's playing in our beginner league at TGH Iceplex, there's going to be goals that go in because you just can't predict a stupid puck moving and bouncing off of 10 people. So give him that one. He should have had 2 shutouts in the past 2 games because that's how well he played. And, the fact that he followed up his performance, getting his 300th win with a shutout, I think that's something that's kind of special. And we are seeing some of the best out of him right now.
It's extremely poetic that he got a shutout in the game, celebrating his 300th win, being the fastest goalie to do it. And there were a couple chances early on in that game where I was like very early on in that game where I'm like, oh, well, this will just suck all the air out of the building. But he was there to stop him. He was up to the task and up to the challenge. And man, just what a fantastic week from him. The defense really did help him out, which is a rare occurrence. But even when they did have their lapses, Vasilevskiy was there to confidently backstop us to 2 dominant victories. Again, just what a week for him. He also mentioning he was the 3rd star of the week from the NHL. So that's also a pretty cool accolade. I know it's nothing too huge, but I'm glad he's getting the recognition that he does deserve for his very, very dominant week.
Speaking on, the Lightning coming from a break, playing well against the top team in the league, how often have we seen a dedication ceremony, a pregame ceremony, end up in a win? I feel like the Lightning tend to lose games where there's a pregame ceremony. I'm pretty confident it happened. I mean, Stamkos had 3 ceremonies in the past 2 years for 1,000, 500, 500, right? There's a bunch there. There's a few other ceremonies here and there. I feel like they don't play nearly as well for those. And, the fact that there was a little bit of a delayed start and they still were able to gather themselves and block, what did I say? It was 18 shots
19.
on the 19. Yeah. Get in front of Vasy and help him out. I love it.
Yeah, I remember a couple of years ago, I think it was the 21 Cup banner raising. I think we got beat 6-1 by Pittsburgh at home.
Blown out.
Brutal. So, no, it's nice to
go
see.
back and look. I don't know what the stats are when the Lightning play with after ceremony type games. I can't remember looking back at some of the Stamkos ones too, if they did lose those games. We'll have to go back and check that out. Maybe we'll talk about it on next week's show. But a good recap to talk about the week. This comment here from Twitter from Eric. Great games by the Bolts, and the defense is looking good. That's the perfect way to sum it up. That's really what these – and even though it was only 2 games from the Bolts here, it was an impressive 2 games. And after a week-long break, we'll see how the rest of this continues into a much bigger week, which we're going to get to in a moment. And as Beverly points out here too, PK was 9 for 9. You'll love to see that. The penalty kill quietly has struggled this year on top of the power play, which is, I think we mentioned this last week, more surprising than the power play struggling. Because again, Stamkos was taken off of the power play, so you kind of expected to go through some different trials and it to be a little weak at the beginning of the season. The penalty kill really stayed the same, if not got better on paper. So it struggling was weird. 9 for 9 in these last 2 games.
I'd say before we transition out of that, we talked about last week about the goal differential. The games that we've lost have been really close games where, we've been within 1 goal, tried pulling a goalie unsuccessfully to come back into them. And, maybe we lost by 2 or even 3, but there were always 1-goal games that were being lost. These last 2 wins are pretty convincing wins, and, a 4-1, 4-0 win. So our goal differential is continuing to improve. And as of right now, we still have 2 games in hand on the Florida Panthers, 3 games in hand on the Toronto Maple Leafs who are ahead of us. So there's a really good chance that we can be right up there at the very top of the Atlantic Division, playing with, some of the best teams in the league.
And it looks like Boston is taking another L tonight as well. This Atlantic Division needs to figure out who's good and who's not, but I'm glad
I tell you about Boston. They're pretenders.
Everybody is kind of trying to figure it out, and the Lightning are starting to really figure it out. And again, the Panthers, they're still a really good team. I think they're the only ones we really have to look up towards right now. So I'm glad that things are starting to shape out this way. Let's hope that they can keep this level of play up, because again, just what a great week by everybody involved.
The state of Florida continuing to make a statement that hockey belongs down south. You just love to see it, even though we don't like the Panthers here. And hey, at least that rivalry is going to be fun for once, because it hasn't been over the past. Well, actually, I mean, last year and a half, it's been good. But good to see the state of Florida continuing to thrive in that division.
Hey, not so hot take. Boston's missing the playoffs this season.
Oh, they're done. They're done.
I mean, they are off to a really bad start, and the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if they missed the playoffs. Boston fans definitely don't want to hear that, but they need to turn things around, no question. Look ahead, by the way, here for the Lightning in the upcoming week. So their next game is going to be tomorrow, Tuesday, which is the 19th. This is the start of a 2-game road trip for the Lightning. This one in Pittsburgh, 7 p.m. Eastern. And then they'll be playing in Columbus on the 21st on Thursday. That game again at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then the Lightning will come home for a 3-game homestand. The first one being on Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, the 23rd, against the Dallas Stars. We will have another show for you before we get to some of the other home games. But just to finish out that homestand, it's going to be Colorado on the 25th, and then the Washington Capitals on the 27th, welcoming Alex Ovechkin, who is on a great goal streak right now. He's on. I mean, how about Alex Ovechkin, man? He did not score goals at all last year. Like, kind of tallied off a little bit, and he's hot right now. That streak will come to an end against the Lightning because we've been so much better against him over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, so some fun games to look forward to coming up here for the Bolts. First one against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Okay, all right, forget everything else real quick. Let's take a pause. What just happened there? Did you actually give some credit where credit was due?
See, here's again the thing. Like with the Jake Guentzel thing, people just misconstrue me. I'm a very outspoken, as you guys know, OV disliker. I have never not given him credit because he is a great goal scorer and he's putting up great numbers. He's tied for the league in goals right now. I'm not going to sit there and deny that. I have never done that. And again, you can quote me on that. So I don't know what you guys are freaking out.
All right. It was more just that, you actually went a full week ahead of what we're talking about to highlight the fact that he is tied for first. I wanted to
finish out the homestand and throw in there that he hasn't been able to score against the Bolts. Last time we played the Lightning, he didn't score anything. So.
I swear to God, Matt, that I think that he did that just to get a reaction out of us.
Well, it worked.
That's good commentary.
I think it might just be pretty late. He's starting to get loopy.
By the way, Daniel says Obi hits the record this season.
Oh, yeah.
We can witness history, guys.
I think he got too hot early. I don't know if he does it this season. I think he does it next season.
Either way, we get to witness history. That's an amazing thing. I'm all for him beating the record while losing against the Lightning. We talked earlier, before the podcast, just saying that he's first in the league or tied for first with goals. That especially after last season. Who would have ever guessed that he was doing that? But
39.
It's still fun to yeah, I know that's old man age. I know. My legs don't work like they used to on the ice, bro. It's hard to Obi's always conserved his legs by not playing defense, only playing one side of the puck. But
his defense has been good this year, though. Like I guess it's turning into a Capitals podcast, but his defense has been really good. He saved a couple of goals.
We need to stop this right now. This turning to a Capitals podcast. Absolutely not. Next game
he's
against the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's the next opponent for the Lightning. I will not stand for Washington Capitals support. I do not like them. I want that known. But Pittsburgh, by the way, the Penguins, speaking of we were talking about the Capitals doing well, a team that's not doing well is the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Did you guys see the start of that game?
Oh, God.
Last week, they're down by 6 goals halfway through the first period. Their big sell, for their players this year.
But this is a game on paper the Lightning should dominate, especially with the way they've been playing. This can often be what you would call a trap game. Hopefully the Lightning can come out really strong in this one. It kind of scares me a little bit. This is the typical game where you're like, no problem, and then they go out there and lose that game. But one they should definitely win. No question.
It bites me
25 on the season? Ooh, worst in the league.
Oh, man. No, we're totally losing this game. Just the way everything has played out so far. This is a game we're going to lose. The way when I always say, hey, we totally should win this game, we lose them. So I'm trying to do a little bit of reverse psychology here.
Hey, just to somebody in chat, what's the the betting odds on the game against Pittsburgh here? Let's
find out real quick.
Yeah, someone in chat will do it for you. I didn't mean to derail you, but I think you're kind of right too. This is exactly the type of game that we lose.
It unfortunately has been recently. Hopefully not. I mean, you look at the game against Columbus. Columbus has had their good games, though. The Lightning, by the way, are minus 140 for that game, which is not as high as I thought it would be. You'd think that would be bigger odds, but we'll see how they do. I think the goal is to win at least 2 of these games. You go 2 out of 3 this week. That's a successful week. If you lose 2 of them, I think that you're starting to see some bigger issues creep back in again.
Yeah, Dallas is pretty much, having a similar season that we are. They're a little bit better. They're 11-5, which is, that should be a great start to the season. They're just kind of overshadowed by the Winnipeg Jets, who are 15-3, and the Minnesota Wild, who we've lost to twice now, who are 11-3-3. So they have had a good start, and going against 2 soft teams before them, I don't like it. I said if I was a betting man, I think we probably would drop one of the first 2.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for us in this week's episode. Lightning off to a great start in this week. Hopefully that'll continue into next week. And don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell for notifications so you don't miss out on future episodes just like this one, because we'll be here to recap it all next week as well. Thank you to everybody who tuned in live with us. We had a fantastic chat today. We really appreciate you guys chiming in. Don't forget to follow us on social media at RBLR Sports, at RBLR Lightning. We're also now on what's this new social media app called? Blue Sky, I think it is. I can't keep up with all the darn social medias that are out there at this point. It's ridiculous. But we're on there too. So if you're on there, go give us a follow. Be sure to do that. If you enjoyed this video, hit that share button. It really helps us out. We really do appreciate it. But that's going to do it for us this episode. We'll talk to you guys next week. And as always, go Bolts.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.